is in southeast Missouri. It just came out about 30 seconds ago. We had a lone supercell ahead of this complex, a lone little cell ahead of it, and the main line behind it caught up to it. We call that a cell merger in meteorology. One storm gets caught up to by another, they run into each other, and that could really help enhance the spin for a brief period of time right after they collide. And that is basically what's happened here within the last 5 minutes. So this is a tornado warning now. This is in southeast Missouri. It's going to be hard for you to see here because we've got a plethora of warnings. There's a flash flood warning in effect. There's a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for this entire line for what I've been telling you about the wind gusts and also the hail. But the imminent concern right now is if you're in the advanced Missouri area, because this rotation, really the last 2 minutes, I was sitting here in the Weather Center watching it, really tightened up. So this tornado warning is going to go for really the eastern part of Bollinger County, Cape Girardeau County, and Stoddard County until 10:45. Now, it's really just the eastern tip here of Stoddard County. So tornado warning is going to go for 30 minutes. I don't know if it'll actually last that long, but that's the official warning here for about the next 30 minutes. So let me zoom this in and give you a little diagnosis here. The rotation is going to be right where you see this V in Advance. So if you're in Advance, Missouri, Bell City, over towards Oran, anywhere in this triangle, you want to get to your tornado shelter now, because I have reason to believe there could be at any moment here a tornado touchdown from this, which if you watch us regularly, you probably, as soon as I flip that over, you said, oh yeah, wow, that's rotation. There it is right there, right near Advance, Missouri. So that's the rotation right there. Don't have any confirmation yet of anything on the ground. Remember, we will confirm that via either somebody seeing it, which at night is rather difficult, so this would have to be seeing the debris lofted on radar. Don't have that yet, so this is just a possible tornado, but the low-level spin here, certainly within the last 2 to 4 minutes, really tightened up right here over Advance, Missouri. And it would not shock me if in the next scan this rotation gets stronger and we could have a brief EF0, EF1 tornado on the ground here for a couple of minutes. Let me loop this and you'll see in the last couple of minutes. You have to bear with me because our weather system's got a lot going on. There's, as you can see, there's about 8 warnings here in the same spot. Here we go. So you can notice right here in the last 2 frames, remember when you look at the velocity data, the green is the wind going towards the radar, which in this case is the wind blowing towards West Paducah. That's where the radar is, the radar beam out by the Barkley Regional Airport. You see that? That's the radar. So this is the wind blowing this way here, and then away from the radar in the red. And the brighter the colors get, the stronger the wind. And this wind here in the red, that brighter red is probably about 50 miles an hour away, and the brighter green is probably about 40 to 50 towards. So you combine the two, and that's how you can estimate the strength of rotation in real time. And that comes out to about 90 or 100 miles an hour, which would be on par for an EF0, potentially EF1 tornado right over Advance, Missouri. So if you're watching us in that area, want you in your shelter. Remember, that's somewhere away from windows. You won't see this coming if you're in these areas. Anywhere along Missouri Highway 25, that rotation is going to cross over that region here within the next 2 to 3 minutes. Let me zoom this out and give you a bigger picture, because I know a lot of you are probably watching this on the TV saying, all right, give me the big picture. Where is this going long term? Well, the atmosphere tonight is not composed to have a long tracking tornadic supercell or a long tracking tornado anything. The tornado risk was low, and the only reason why we have this now is because 2 storms rammed into each other. And when they run into each other for a couple of minutes, that increases the spin. So my point of telling you that is, I don't think that this area that's tornadic right now is going to survive the trek all the way to Paducah, because this storm is coming right for Paducah, most of the Purchase area, and our bigger impacts here are still at play, damaging winds and large hail, which is the majority of this line. But for the next 10, 20, 30 minutes, as this treks towards Interstate 55 in southeast Missouri, there is a tornado risk because the 2 storms merge together. Let me bring you back to the radar here with the lightning real quick. I just want to give you a big picture reset. So if you're in Advance, Missouri tornado shelter right now, we've got a possible tornado here at any moment. But just big picture, West Kentucky, we're quiet for right now. Tennessee, we're quiet. Illinois, we're quiet. There's a little shower here near Galconda. There was a supercell earlier here near Madisonville that had some rotation, but that didn't produce anything. It's this big line of storms, which for more people is going to be an impact of lots of lightning, strong straight line winds that could be damaging, and also the prospects for large hail. I don't know about quite up to tennis ball sized anymore, but certainly golf ball and ping pong ball sized hail, very much at play with this line as it tracks to the east, which you can see the storm is a lot bigger than the tornado area. So anybody from Sikeston to New Madrid, Caro, eventually the Purchase area, Union City, this is coming right for you. And I'll loop this on the big picture here with the lightning on so you can see. And again, bear with me, our system has a lot to take in right now at once, so it might glitch right there for a second. Here you go. So the entire line of storms is moving to the east, and right on the north, we call it the poleward side, the northernmost tip of that little squall line, there's that rotation, and that's where the tornado warning is. So for that immediate area in our Advanced Missouri, tornado shelter now for the next 5 to 10 minutes. But for the rest of this line, certainly I could see 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts continuing as this pushes to the east. Sikeston, New Madrid, Caro, the river counties here. This will not fall apart at the river because there's plenty of instability ahead of this. Wind will be the main concern because this is turning into a line of storms, and in a line of storms, wind becomes the main concern, but still could be that large hail as this continues to push off to the east. And as I told you at the top of the newscast before we had the tornado warning, there is a ton of lightning. And you see this green line, I'll come back to that. That's actually a gust front that's been dropped in the last couple of minutes ahead of the storms. And what that does is cause a higher wind risk, but a lower hail risk. And I'll come back to that here in a second. Whenever we have a tornado warning, we're going to focus the majority of our time on that, no matter where it is in the core of our area, and this is included in that. So here you see the tornado warning again, which does include Bell City and Advanced Missouri. The warning officially goes, if you're just joining us and clicked on to see the weather here at about 10:15 and missed when I came out earlier, this is a tornado warning that goes for the eastern part of Bollinger, the clipping parts of Cape County, and also Stoddard County in southeast Missouri. Yeah, there could be hail to quarter size where the rotation is, but this is really just for that rotation. Tornado warning here is going to go for about another 25 to 28 minutes. So let's flip you back over to velocity data. Remember, we get that by the time the radar does the sweep, we get the radar into the data services. It goes into the internet and it pops up here on your TV. That process takes about 2 to 3 minutes. We get a new scan in data of the radar. And certainly that rotation would be right here, right over Advanced Missouri. Now, let's go ahead and put the debris tracker on, because a way that we can confirm or deny there being an actual tornado on the ground is if there's debris being wafted. Because if there's debris being wafted, it's 100% without shadow of a doubt. That's a tornado. I can confirm it to you in real time. And you probably will remember, many of you, from our coverage of the tornadoes in December 2021, when we show you the debris tracker, what you're looking for is blue surrounded by this magenta, because blue would represent something that's dissimilar in the atmosphere. And by something, I mean an object, shingles, trees, debris, things of that nature that are non-meteorological. When you look at it's called correlation coefficient. That's the name of the radar mode you're looking at here. When you're looking at it, when the colors are all the same, that means everything is similar in the atmosphere. And in the case of this magenta and yellow, yellow generally is hail and magenta is rain. There's no tornado debris being wafted, which you can see. The rotation's right here. I'll put the debris tracker right over it. And at the moment, not getting anything near Advanced Missouri. There's a little bit of rotation too, actually, down here near Bell City, Missouri. Neither are producing any damage. So for right now, that's good news. But again, as we've seen plenty of times, you can take the Fremont tornado day for an example. Trent came out for that tornado, and in between scans, it touched down, was on the ground for 2 minutes and lifted. We barely even saw it for more than one scan of the radar, and that was an EF2 tornado. And we all saw how much damage that did in a small area. So just because scan to scan we're not seeing a lot, that could change at a moment's notice in one radar scan. But the good news is, at least for right now, that's not doing anything concerning. But the rotation would be right over Advanced Missouri. Missouri Highway 25, folks, you want to be sheltered right now. But I can already see that this is probably going to spin itself out. The only reason why this kicked up is because the two storms rammed into each other. The ambient atmosphere outside of this storm does not have enough wind shear to produce a tornado, if that makes sense to you. The only reason why this spun up is because the two storms hit each other, and then they spun around each other and kicked up rotation, which is right here near Advanced Missouri. And you can kind of see what I mean, how the red is going like this, and the green is coming up down around it and rotating, and that's right over Advanced Missouri. Let me check a couple of more products on my radar here. I've got other products to make sure I'm not missing anything. Good news is I have not seen any debris yet. Let me make sure there wasn't a couple of scans ago. Yeah, there may have been very briefly, but it's hard to tell because there could have been a lot of strong wind, and it could have kicked up some dirt or something from a farm field that could reflect like it looked like debris. But there was nothing here I'm seeing on the radar you're looking at on the TV or the higher res radar I have on my phone here that there was a tornado that touched down here yet at any moment. So let me stop this, zoom back into the rotation here, which at the current moment here, 10:20, just got a new scan, and the velocity signature is certainly at a notch less. I'd say it's probably like a half a notch lower than what it was the last couple of minutes. But this is where it would be. Missouri Highway 25. These are somewhat rural areas. This would be the proper here of Advance where 91 intersects 25 going south. This is where if there was going to be an EF0 or a brief EF1 tornado, it would be right now as I'm speaking to you at 10:21 p.m. And this is going to track towards the east. This would be County Road 337, County Road 424 up here, and this would be 202, this road right here. So is this, strong rotation? No, it's not. But it's enough to prompt a tornado warning, and the tornado warning is still in effect here for the next couple of minutes. So let me zoom this back out, give you a bigger picture here. I want to loop this so you can see what I'm talking about. Again, remember the red is away, the green is towards the radar. And by the way, this bigger pocket here of bright greens, that's strong straight line wind damage, which that's going to keep going. That's not going to fall apart. The rotation here, I suspect, is going to fall apart within another 5 to 8 minutes. And we'll probably see this tornado warning go away. But the strong straight line wind threat, the lightning, the hail, that all is still coming, folks, to West Paducah, Purchase area. The storms are not going to fall apart, but the rotation here on this little northern tip will fall apart here in a couple of minutes because, again, as I said 3 times now, it was formed from 2 things ramming into each other, which the effect of that will go away before too much longer. But still a serious threat right there just to the east of Advance, Missouri for the next couple of minutes. So let me put the radar back on here. It's been a hot minute since we looked at the radar here. So that's the wind in the atmosphere. Here's the radar, and these are the lightning bolts just in the last 5 minutes. So that's why there's less lightning. I don't want you to think that all of a sudden the lightning went away, the 500-something bolts I showed you earlier. And there you go. Weather Service, as usual in Paducah, is doing a fantastic job getting these warnings out ahead of time. So that's going to be a new severe thunderstorm warning, I believe, here in the yellow you see just issued. And that's what's going to be the bigger impact coming towards West Kentucky. You can see this is a pretty large severe thunderstorm warning. So the severe thunderstorm warning here is going to be probably going, I'm going to guess, till 11. I'll pull that up here for you. So that warning is going to go till 11, for basically all of New Madrid County, Scott County, Missouri, Mississippi County, and then I believe this is going to include the Kentucky Bend area there, the always interesting area of the Kentucky Bend there between Missouri, Tennessee, and Kentucky.
The National Weather Service in Paducah has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for southwestern Fulton County, Kentucky, western Mississippi County, Missouri, southern Scott County, Missouri, New Madrid County, Missouri, until 11 p.m. At 10:21 p.m., strong winds out ahead of a line of thunderstorms were located along a line extending from near Orrin to Kanalu to near Malden, moving east at 50 miles per hour. Expected hazards include 60 miles per hour with gusts and quarter-size hail. This is a radar-indicated threat. The following impacts are expected. Hail damage to vehicles is expected. Expect wind damage to roofs, siding, and trees. Locations impacted include Sikeston, Charleston, Holdridgeville, East Prairie, New Madrid, Wilburn, Minor, Hunter Dawson State Historic Site, Malden, Gideon, Morehouse, Bertrand, Parma, Morley, Matthews, Marston, Howardville, Risco, Kanalu, and Anniston. This includes the following highways: Interstate 57 in Missouri between mile markers 1 and 14. Interstate 55 between mile markers 32 and 80. Repeating, a severe thunderstorm warning has been issued until 11 p.m. for the following counties in Missouri, Mississippi, New Madrid and Scott, and Fulton, Kentucky.
This green line represents wind that's 45, 55 miles an hour, maybe a few gusts up closer to 60, but it's out in advance now of the rain. And that rain-cooled air surges and it gets farther and farther away from the storm. And eventually it will get far enough in front of the storm that it will kill the storm, but that probably is not going to happen for a long while yet. But the point is, this yellow line here and that green line on the radar, that's a pretty substantial gust front, something more typical around here for July or August, not necessarily the middle of May. And that's because if you've been outside today, you know, most people said, oh yeah, wow, it's really humid, a little more so than what would be normal for this time of the year. The high humidity has caused the instability for these storms to be so strong like this. And that gust front is going to produce winds 45, 50, maybe 55 miles an hour as that pushes to the east. So let me track the gust front for you there. Moving to the east, and I said that's about 50 miles an hour. So let me clear that off, and we'll put this on here. So this is not the rain. This is the surge of wind ahead of the actual thunderstorm, which could take down some trees and do some power outages. And I'm actually going to speed it up a little bit because I feel like it will speed up with time. So that's the track of that gust front. Sikeston that's coming in here now. New Madrid, Missouri, probably about 10:45. Bardwell, Kentucky, 11:01. Pick the town closest to you on here. Clinton, about 11:07. And Central Graves in the Mayfield area, probably about 11:23 p.m. So the Mayfield area, that gust front, which is very strong wind, which if you didn't know was coming, you'd think it's out of nowhere. Very strong wind without any rain ahead of the storm, going to come in about an hour or just under an hour. Central Graves County folks, McCracken County folks, and that wind could take down some tree limbs and do some power outages ahead of what is all the lightning in the storm. And the large hail for the time being is up in this northern part of the storm, and that's going to track towards southern Illinois and Ballard County. So let's go back in and take a quick recap here of that tornado warning. It's been about 4 or 5 minutes since we were in there. So the tornado warning is still there. Let me bring this back and loop it again if you are just joining us and missed while we're on here. This tornado warning was issued about maybe 15 minutes ago now. And see this little cell that was in front of the storm? It's hard to tell on this loop. It doesn't go far enough back. But this storm that was out ahead of it got overtaken by the line behind it. They rammed into each other, and that causes a little localized area of spin. Enough for the Weather Service to put out a tornado warning because there was concern for a tornado, and there still is, which is why that warning is in effect. But just by looking at the radar here myself, I'm going to reckon to believe that this might be dropped early. Officially, the tornado warning goes till 10:45. Advance, folks, you're safe to come out of your shelter. But let's put this back on velocity data. This will be a good proxy here for what's cooking in through here with the wind. Yeah, so first thing that jumps out to me, and I was about to say new severe thunderstorm warning probably should come out for the wind, which just did. They read my mind with that. The first thing that jumps out to me is the strong straight line wind there. So let me bring this back up closer to that storm. So you see this bright area of green here just to the east of Bell City. This is some 65 gusts of wind in a straight line. Bell City, and this is what's coming eventually towards Ballard County and West Paducah, probably about 60 to 90 minutes from now. This bright area of green, you can see that's some strong wind. But moving to the north of that, where the tornado warning polygon was, I mean, there's not a lot of rotation left. I mean, yeah, it's still rotating, don't get me wrong, but compared to what it was 10 minutes ago, it's a lot less and a lot weaker, the rotation there in the next couple of minutes. And that warning for there's more storms up in southern Illinois now. Those are moving to the east as well, but 60-mile-an-hour winds and the large hail is going to be the impact with those. But the good news to report here is I would expect in the next couple of minutes that this tornado warning is going to be allowed to expire, which is good news, but that does not mean the severe threat is over. And tornadoes were not the main concern tonight. It's wind and hail, which is still going to end up being true. But you can see there, let me draw it on here and circle it for you. We'll see. It's possible there could have been a very brief EF0 tornado. And by very brief, I mean on the ground for a minute or two, right there. Let me circle it. So I'm going to circle where the rotation was. Now the loop's going to go past it. But you see it right there, right about there, really quickly. It's spun up very, very strong and pronounced. Very clear, I should say, not very strong. Very clearly on the radar at low levels that spin right over Advance, Missouri. It was there for a few minutes and it's went away now. You can see just by looking at the green and red here on the velocity, it's very broad. And this is much more, to me, of a straight line wind signature than it is a concern for a tornado. So I don't think, by saying all that, Oran, Scott City, folks, anywhere along 55, Blodgett. I don't think you need to go get into your tornado shelter right now. I would be inside away from windows. There's going to be some straight line damaging wind gusts, but in terms of tornado risk, I think that threat is just about to wind down here with what was that tornado warning. But let me bring it back to the radar here, because this is where there'd be large hail. Anywhere you see pink or purple on a night in an event like this is where the large hail would be. So when you look at the radar, it's called reflectivity. This is the precipitation. Where you see that the pink and purple, that's where the hail would be. And that would be right about right there. And as you just saw 20 seconds ago, the tornado warning now has been allowed to expire. So breaking news here right now, the tornado warning is expired. You're going to see it there at the bottom of the screen there for a couple of minutes, but the tornado warning has been allowed to expire. And if Audrey in my ear, you want to tell me how much more time we have in the 10, what you want to do, I can keep going here and track these storms out, but feel free to let me know in my ear. Okay, so the tornado warning has been allowed to expire, which is good news. Still lots of strong straight line wind gusts here. We basically have 75 miles worth of severe thunderstorm warnings now in effect. It's quiet in Kentucky and Tennessee, but let me zoom this back in here one more time, and I'll give you a look right here. As I think we've probably got about 90 seconds left. I'll fill this and we'll go back to programming here. So right now, no more tornado risk, which is good news. So nobody needs to be sheltered for that. But this entire line here sounds good, Audrey. Thanks. That's our producer in my ear. So the entire line is severe thunderstorm warned. So no more tornado risk, but 60 to 70 mile per hour winds and some large hail is the concern. Certainly more wind on the southern part of it, from Sykes and down into Madrid. There's probably more of a hail risk here just to the southwest of Cape Girardeau. And this whole line is, let me tell you what, instead of telling that to you verbally, I'll loop the radar so you can see it. Loop of the radar here reveals all of this is coming right towards the Mississippi River counties and then eventually West Kentucky and Tennessee. So let me put the mode of the radar here on with the lightning, and you can see there still is a ton of lightning with this. Lots and lots of cloud-to-ground lightning, and that's going to be coming across here in the next 1 to 2 hours. Up in southern Illinois, there is another severe thunderstorm warning here just to the east of the Mississippi River. That's tracking towards eventually Pinckneyville, West Frankfort, and Jefferson County, but that's not currently of any tornado concern, just wind and hail. So here's the home view of the radar. We're going to sign off here in a couple of seconds because there's no more tornado warning, and the newscast is over. So I'm going to regroup. We're going to get some more updates out on our app, on the website, on social media. If there's any more tornado warnings, of course, we'll be back here on air. But for right now, have yourself a good night. I'll be back with updates and coverage on our social media and here on TV as conditions warrant through the night.